And we are live. Hello, everybody. It's been a while since we've had a stream, but I figured it's about time to get some of those easy views. I'm here with my
Yep.
friend, Nice Meme Friar, and we're going to be talking
Well,
about the second Renaissance today from the movie The Animatrix. Did you hear that they might be making an Animatrix too?
wait, really? I had no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, no, I saw. I was looking at the wiki today, just doing some research and preparation for
Interesting.
this. But apparently, that's something that was being considered.
Hmm. Okay,
On
so it says that around the time that the Matrix Resurrections was being released in theaters in December 21, rumors began to circulate that Warner Brothers was considering production of a sequel to the Animatrix. Um. Oh, all right.
I'm gonna be honest, I'd be actually a
And
lot more excited to see that than I was for Resurrections.
I was not. I was not. I just let me just send you uh the archived Reddit link because it looks kind of legit. So I just sent
No,
it to
no,
you in
I'm
the
saying
chat.
I'd be more excited to see Animatrix 2 than I
Oh
am.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I'm just talking about. I was talking about the same thing. It's just very Look, it can't possibly be worse than this, right? What we had last year can't possibly be worse than
Um,
Matrix
Honestly, that was one of the
Resurrection.
worst. I don't think we ever did a stream on that. That was one of the worst movies I think
I
I've ever
don't.
seen.
We should have. Or we should have, and I think we should. I mean, it was just incredible. Just incredible. Amazing.
Sorry, some people there just something popped up in me.
Okay.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Can you send me the link to your live stream? Yes,
Uh,
there we go. Oh, nothing. I was just going to ask for the link to the live stream so I could
okay.
send it to the
Um,
podcast.
yeah. I don't know. So Matrix Resurrections is like one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen. Or let me qualify
Is
that.
one of the worst things. Yeah, one of the worst movies.
It's okay.
I
So
mean,
it's like okay. I have to qualify whenever I say one of the worst movies. One of the worst movies that had a budget in a major studio. Because saying one of the worst movies isn't really fair. Because there's like some shitty stuff that cost like $5 to make. So it's not fair.
yes, such as Children of the Corn.
Yeah,
which
or
which is
even more
which is
worse.
apparently, or like Roadhouse, which incidentally is Sarkarp's favorite movie, or one of them at any rate.
Of course it
Um,
is. It's if it's weird and has body horror in it. But yeah, before we get to the
um,
second
I'm being
Renaissance,
told, that I sound really quiet.
I
Is that
turned you
actually
up
the?
since then,
Oh, okay,
so
great.
we'll see. Um, yeah, so before we get into the Matrix uh, second Renaissance, I'm just gonna say this.
All right.
Even might need to do because I actually rewatched the Matrix Resurrections, and it was like
Okay.
as bad, if not worse, than I thought it was.
Yeah.
What would you
People
say
were actually.
a quarter or a third of the movie is literally just clips from the first movies?
Um, I would say between 1/6 and 1/5.
Okay,
I wouldn't go so far as to say a third.
okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure some artist somewhere has made an analysis of the runtime. So, uh,
Was
so
pretending Smith was
our
back just to fuck you for the audience? Like,
yes,
what
yes,
was
because
that?
that's what it turned out to be, right? I mean, it wasn't. Was it even really Smith? I mean, like
He
I,
said he
I
was
was so
literally
hyped up.
the only way. Like, he just said he was Smith, and that was the only thing we had um, to go off of. There was nothing else about him that was Smith like. But like I was reading the wiki in preparation for this, and I was reading some of the stuff
Uh-huh,
about the Matrix Resurrections, and it's just like
uh-huh.
none of this lore was actually in the movie. Like none of this stuff was in the movie.
Uh, you mean you mean reading the movie uh description on the wiki for
Yeah, the
plot points
Matrix
and stuff.
wiki, just like the
Right,
Machine Civil
right.
War or like the Analyst background. I mean, it's not good, but
I mean
it,
the I mean the machine civil war. I mean the machine civil war just isn't isn't it like a 2 or 3 second scene?
yes.
Because that's all I remember about the machine civil war. It's like, dude, I mean, you can't show like a singular machine hive mind. Look, the conceit of the original trilogy, right? The first three movies was that the rebellious machine was dangerous precisely because it did not adhere to the instructions of the machine hive mind. You know, the baby faced thing. It's called.
Yeah, the Deus Ex Machina.
You know what? Oh my god, it causes me physical pain every time I remember that it actually is called Deus Ex Machina.
I kind of think it's. I kind of like that part. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, okay. No, 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 no. I have no problem with the part. I just think that I just think that the machine emergent hive mind being called the Deus Ex Machina literally got
No, I
out of the
think it was.
machine.
I think the joke was that there was really no other way to beat Smith other than a Deus Ex Machina. Um,
Oh,
s- so
that
they brought a
that
literal
makes
one in.
it even worse, dude. That makes it even worse. That that just makes it even worse. I would say that in terms of hack posting, hack posting, it's about as bad as the Adeptus Mechanicus in 40k calling their engineers the engine seers.
I thought they
And
were called tech priests.
oh yes, but engineers in particular are called engine seers. In keeping in keeping with the idea that tech that technological knowledge has calcified and it's no longer y- yeah, knowledge is retained, it's not developed, it's not taken any further. Yes, engine sears is profoundly hackish, but
Well, everything.
in
I'll probably alienate half my channel when I say this, but everything in 40k is hackish.
I'm not saying it's bad. In fact, I enjoy it immensely. One of my favorite fan projects of all time has been the Warhammer 40k versus Star Wars thing that this YouTube guy called a fan with too much time has been doing for the past few years. Thinks about the past 3 years now. I enjoy that very much, and I do love reading about 40k lore, but it's yeah. There's just there's just no getting around the fact that that is so hackish that like one of the pre-heresy meetings called by the emperor with his sons, the Primarchs, is literally called the Council of Nicaea. I was like, my God.
Okay. Anyway, so getting into the Second
Yeah,
Renaissance. So,
yeah.
for those of you who aren't aware, in between the Matrix One and it was the Matrix Two, right? The
It came out in
Animatrix,
2003.
or was
Came out
it
in
between
2003.
Reloaded and Revolutions?
Between Reloaded and
Okay.
Revolutions, yeah.
Yeah. Between Reloaded and Revolutions, we had they put out the Animatrix, which was a series of different short films. Would you say? It's
It's an anthology, so
yeah, an
most of
anthology.
the
Okay,
so most of the shorts are between what, like 8 to 10 minutes, I think.
something like that.
Yeah. Um. So the entire uh, the entire anthology had like nine, probably eight, well, nine if you count second Renaissance as a two-part thing.
I don't get why it's
um
counted as two parts because it's one narrative.
yeah, but it goes on for like less than 2 hours. It's like it's like 100 minutes in total, maybe. um
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
yeah, so it was a series of movies. The Wachowskis wrote, I think, three of them. Or no, four of
I
them.
believe so, yes.
I think it was
Okay.
four of them were directly created by them, and then the rest was various directors. Is it considered canon?
um I mean, off the top of my head, there isn't really anything in the anthology that could be counted as non-canon.
Right.
Um, I mean, it could be, it could be non-canon in the sense that it's not really it doesn't make internal sense, but then uh the Duracell advert that like the first third of the first Matrix movie was also doesn't make sense from an internal
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll get into
well,
that in a little bit
internal or external, yeah.
because I was
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
figure that out. But do you want to maybe just give a summary for the audience what the Second Renaissance was about?
Okay. So the second Renaissance, which is like a two-part part of like 8 minutes or 9 minutes each. What it does is it is a narrative prequel, which builds up the universe that the Matrix movies are set in. It describes, it shows in the form of archival recordings, news clippings, um, and um, b- some some narrative overviews. It shows how um, artificial intelligence
Created?
was created by man, and how the human and machine wars started, um, and how that and how that went, and how that led to the creation of the Matrix. And it shows just why the machines just why the machines have such animosity towards the humans, and why the humans acted the way they did, and what justifies their resistance, their continued resistance against the machine dominion of the planet. Or that's what it would have done had it been competently directed. Although again, I
It's too
don't know if
bad
that
because
was
the
the point.
animation is good.
The animation is very good. Yes, it's very it's a very um, it is a very what's the again, I don't watch anime, so I don't know. Again, I don't watch anime. It's not because I don't like anime. It's just that I think I'm too old now to get into
Ooh.
anime.
Yeah. No. Okay. Well, I just meant that it had a nice art style. Um,
Okay, okay.
I just thought
I don't know
I
if
thought it was
it's
very competently animated and
yes, yes.
polished. It just
That
wasn't
it
very
was.
original.
Yes, yes, yes. That it was. Like yep, in parts is very heavy-handed. Um, and such. Hey, Argent, I see someone in the live chat just spamming.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just gonna just ignore him.
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, yeah, no, it's produced very competently. The sound mixing is good. The art style is fantastic. The animation, really, there's nothing to complain about there. It's technically very well crafted, but that was never the problem with the Matrix movies, right? I mean, they were
Well,
always,
that was
quite
never the problem
technically
with the
technically
first
competent.
three.
Yes, yes. Well. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I consider the fourth movie, Resurrections,
To
to be
exist.
canon. Yeah. I mean, look, it's kind of like the
I
it's kind
mean,
of
like
like the
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Revolutions was like an okay place to end the series. It might have been cool if they came back to it a couple decades later and took another look at it. But I guess I understand why they just wanted to leave the franchise on the note and not make a sequel.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. So, getting back to the Animatrix, it's very competently directed. Most of the shots are pretty gorgeously composed. And the way it
Which one
connects so
was
many.
the which video? Which short film was the scene of the first Matrix from?
What's that? Could you
Wasn't there a
repeat that?
scene of the first Matrix in the movie, like where the kid is with
You mean
the
the
agent?
Paradise Matrix? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
No, uh, that is like the last 30 or 40 seconds of the second part of the second Renaissance.
Okay.
Yeah,
With the agent who's Santa.
yeah, no, yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
And then it cuts to the child being in one of the pods. I will not live in the pod.
so the second Renaissance. So just to give some background, so humanity invented artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence very quickly um, resulted in them creating humanoid robots. More and more of society's grunt work was pressed off into robots. Humans became increasingly complacent and lazy. But the issue is one day a robot, if I recall, killed his master in self defense.
Yes, his name was BI 66ER. So bigger, presumably. It's a reference to Bigger Thomas. Um,
Yeah, so he killed a guy to protect himself, and then we got, as we have with everything, where it has to be about the civil rights movement, it has to be about slavery, because
yeah,
because robots are people. Um, they have
that's
they're
that's
sorry.
that is the narrative that we are shown. I mean, where um, so it literally shows like a million machine march
Yeah,
on
yeah. So
Washington.
the Supreme
Yeah,
Court rules that machines are not people and they don't have human rights. And there's like a
yeah,
million machine right march, and there's like a whole bunch of like liberals who are like, "Oh, machines are people too, robot rights now," and that kind of thing. And is when is it that they try to destroy the machines? I'm just let me
it's
bring up a summary.
it's in the it's in the riots. It's in the riots that follow the ruling, because we don't really know why the so what's funny is that the sequence about this robot murderer, I think it was first shown in the Matrix comic called Bits and Pieces, and I think it was written by the Wachowskis themselves, and it was something like the owner of that particular robot, uh, um, they decided to dispose of him so that they could presumably get like a newer model or something. And
Mhm.
um, disposal meant that it would be deactivated and turned into junk, which the robot, being a sentient creature, quite understandably disagreed with. And was the murder before the case, or was it after, or was it after, or was the case after the murder?
I thought the
And
case was
I don't
based
know.
on the murder.
Yes, and the ruling of the case said that robots were property and thus could be disposed of at the will of the owner. So uh, that's what the court ruled, and there was a lot of civil unrest, and there
Yeah, and
were a
then
lot
they
of people who were
purged. They began to destroy robots, and their sympathizers are just looking to
they
summon.
yeah they began to they began to purge the machines, and there's this shot of like a super heavy tank that crushes the machines. I don't know. I don't know if it would violate eh, YouTube like NSFW rules
No,
or
it's
whatever.
it's
But
not that. It's more the copyright.
okay,
I can't
um,
really show
no,
clips from movies.
I wasn't going to ask you to show a clip. I was just gonna ask you to show like this. I was gonna send you the screenshot, which you could presumably
Oh, okay, cool.
um,
Is that supposed to
put
be
up on.
like a reference to the Israel Palestine thing?
Yeah, or Tiananmen Square. Is very. It's if you look at the if you look at the images, right? It's incredibly heavy. It's incredibly heavy-handed. Um, and like I understand why people argued that it was that is actually machine propaganda because it doesn't show the humans in a particularly good light. I mean, I understand why people
Okay,
would
we'll
say
we'll
that.
get
I
to
just
that in a second.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so the various
I
machines.
have just sent you. I just sent you the screenshot because because that is an incredibly heavy tank, right? Just yeah, just can you show it? Can you share it on
Yeah, I'll
the
just give me a
uh,
second.
all right.
Um, but yeah, so the machines run a flee, and they built their own city along with the pro-machine humans called Zero One
Yes.
in Mesopotamia. I guess.
No, 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 no. It's not. I If you look at the map, and excuse me for being incredibly autistic, but if you look at the map, then you can clearly see it's not in fact Mesopotamia. It's clearly 600 miles south of Mesopotamia in what is called the empty quarter, which is basically like 250,000 square miles of desert smack in the middle of the Arabian Peninsula.
Okay. So they
Yeah, it's
built
definitely not
their big
Mesopotamia.
city out in the desert because they're machines and they don't need. Um, but then I don't know. But then there's the humans who went with them. I feel like the humans who sided with the machines are something that just kind of disappears from the narrative
Yeah,
after this point.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like it just seems
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
weird.
I mean the sympathizers just disappear.
Hmm.
And I sent you a picture of the machine city. Yeah, 01. What's funny is that if you go to the Wikipedia page of the empty desert in the empty quarter in the Arabian Peninsula, it says in the pop culture references that the 01, the machine city, is built in the empty quarter. And what's funny, part of the narrative of that is that what happens afterwards is that the machines build a very successful industrial society, um, and they presumably trade with the humans, and they end up supplying most of the most of the uh, high tech gadgets and
It
such that
just
the
seems weird to me
human
that
nations
humans
use.
would go from trying to destroy them to just being like their main trade partners.
Yeah, yeah. Then again, in the space of 20 years, right? Uh, the Americans went from nearly nuking Manchuria to um, granting China, most favored nation status. So,
Okay,
uh,
that's true.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. But that's what happens. So, a lot of the advanced pieces of tech that we see in the Matrix movies, in particular the circular pads on the Nebuchadnezzar and the other
The
Zion ships.
hover pads.
Yes, they're made by this company, or they're marketed by this company called Versatran, and um, they're one of the major exports of the machine city to the human nations. Now,
Okay.
in the wake of the growth of such trade and so on, the machines assumed uh, that they could do business with the humans and presumably um, coexist with them. However, and in pursuit of that, uh, went uh, they went to
The UN.
the UN shortly after the UN uh, declared, because economic their economic fortunes had taken a downturn, because they were
Yeah, because
the
wasn't the whole world's economy depended on 01?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
somehow it became like that. We don't know how, we don't know why, but somehow all of a sudden, in the space of a few years, the world's economy is like this. Yeah, it's like 01 had become the it had become the equivalent of the Departmentum Unitorum of the United Nations, and they found that they were so dependent on them that they were losing their own economic and industrial might. And in order to halt that, they immediately set up a military embargo on 01. Um, in order to come to peaceful terms, what the machines did was that they sent their ambassadors to the UN. I sent another screenshot, so you can put that up if you'd like.
Okay.
These ambassadors were not listened to. They were dismantled. They were hauled away from the thing, from the UN floor, and they were not allowed admission to the global community of nations and so on. So that's what happened, and
Like the
that
whole
was
thing, like up to this point, sounds like it's something like someone would write as a propaganda piece. Like
yeah,
this. Oh, we were good boys. We didn't do nothing. We just tried to become part of the community of nations. We were helping out the economy of all the human, and they were just ungrateful to us. It
yeah,
does really, like, especially from this point onward, feel like some sort of propaganda movie.
yes, yes, yes. Now, what actually surprises me um, is that an embargo, right?
Uh huh.
Is the sending an embargo um, of a nation that's concentrated in the empty quarter. the Arabian Peninsula, and that's surrounded um,
Think
by the UAE, Yemen, Oman, so on and so on and so forth. Um, oh, oh, so where on earth would um, such a nation get its resources from, right? I mean, there's nothing in the empty quarter. That's why it's the empty quarter. There's literally nothing apart from hundreds and hundreds of miles of sand, right?
right.
I, I, I mean, sand is silicon, so presumably they could make chips, but no, there's no fuel there to speak of except maybe in the northern part of it, unless my geography is too mistaken. There's some oil, but even then, there's no rare earth metals to speak of. So where the hell would they make? Oh, so how would they produce all of the electronics compounds, right? So, you know, if it's the same world as ours, which the Matrix says it is, then there's just nothing there for them to have. There's just nothing there for things to have happened as they did. But
So is that so?
little do
After
we
they
know,
destroyed their ambassadors, is that when the UN nuked 01?
it was shortly after that the United Nations nuked. And so this is where part one of the Second Renaissance ends, and uh, where part two begins. Um,
It
yeah, let
doesn't
me
seem like
bring up
it
this.
did much, which I find kind of weird.
Yeah, I will bring that up. Hold on. Let me bring up the transcript. Yeah. Um. All right. Okay. So prior to the embargo, we're shown news clippings where a reporter says, "No matter what the finance minister and her spokespeople say, the market has spoken. The human nation's credit rating is falling like a stone, while zero one's currency is climbing without stopping for breath." With headlines like that, the money markets have no choice but to, and then the cliff cuts up, and then the narrator says the leaders of men, their power waning, refuse to cooperate with the fledgling nation, wishing rather that the world be divided. And the US president says the world's community of nations cannot tolerate this kind of flagrant deception. And then it cuts to female reporter number three, who says the United Nations today approved initiatives for both economic sanctions and the naval blockade of the region as a means of containment and isolation of zero one. And that was when they sent their ambassadors, and thereafter is when the uh, where part where ends and part two begins. Um, the narration for the beginning of part two is very interesting, and this is where my problems actually start, right? And so let me quote from this. The narrator, which incidentally looks like is it called what's the Japanese expression? Loli? The
Ollie?
figure looks kind of like, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's what the narrator AI looks like. Anyway, that's not the point, but it says the narrator says, and man said, "Let there be light." And he was blessed by light, heat, magnetism, gravity, and all of the energies of the universe. The prolonged barrage engulfed Zero One in the glow of a thousand suns. But unlike their former masters with their delicate flesh, the machines had little to fear from the bomb's radiation and heat. Okay. And that's when you get like the super famous scene of the mushroom clouds rising up from
So
the
are machines
bombardment.
in the Matrix just immune to EPM?
And you mean EMP, right?
EMP,
Electromagnetic pulse.
yes.
No, because that is the chief weapon.
I know that
That
I was
Yeah,
just gonna throw
yeah.
that out there.
Now, look. uh, What's actually funny is that you actually need very little uh, radiation in terms of absorbed radiation in terms of um what is it called ergs or of Roentgens or whatever. I,
Rotogens?
yeah, yeah. You actually need like a very few rems of radiation to mess up an an electronic device.
Right.
It's surprising just how delicate electronics, especially solid
Well,
state
yeah, and
electronics, are to ionizing radiation.
you would
And
imagine
you
that
would
machines
imagine
would have extremely delicate.
they would, and there's really no way for like even a s- like a square like a square kilometer of solid steel that's like it's like 5 meters thick, right? Not even something like that can resist a nearby nuclear explosion. It's just not. It just doesn't happen.
What
And
about
what we see,
lead?
no, nothing. I mean, you don't. There's just no way to bypass the heat or the overpressure or it just does not happen. There's too much. The energies involved are too much, like in terms of the radiant heat, like that's enough to vaporize anything within, like, depending on the atomic yield, right, of the bomb. That's enough to vaporize anything. That's
So
like
it got hit with
that's
multiple
not
nuclear missiles, but they didn't do anything, or they didn't do very much.
it got so from the screenshot I just sent you, right? So from the screenshots I just sent you, right, you can clearly see that there's at least that there's at least one, two, three, four, five, six, seven nuclear detonations, and these look like pretty big detonations, and
Uh huh.
there's just no way there's there's just no way that anything survives in that. There's just no way. And look, even if they had, it's very easy to build and launch more nuclear weapons, right?
Well, we have
Even if they had
thousands of
dug
them.
we have thousands of them, and they had exploded what, maybe 2 or 300. And this is presumably the yeah, it's like the
Well, I
nations of the
mean, in
world
this they only
presumably.
used like a dozen or something. So like,
Yeah.
they didn't have any more nuclear weapons. They also didn't apparently have any conventional military assets they could use.
um we ha- do see warships, and it does talk about like a naval blockade. So
Okay.
we do see warships um in 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 a previous scene. So I don't know how or just where all of those went. Like we see frigates and such. um um so we have no idea where these things went.
So where do they go
And
after 01 gets destroyed?
they apparently, so according to the narrator, right, they survive the bombardment of 01, and they expand outwards in the wake of the nuclear explosion, because the next line of the script says, thus did 01's troops advance outwards in every direction. and one after another, mankind surrendered its territories. Like,
So they just
how how does that work? How on earth does that work?
their army wasn't
Right?
affected. Humanity didn't have any other nukes. Um,
Humanity did not have any other nukes. Yet, like in,
don't they use a whole
in
bunch
part,
later on?
I was just about to say that. Like 5 minutes later, we see them tossing battlefield nukes like it's nothing, right? So like they did not notice that the machine militaries were building up their strength for an invasion, or like what's going on.
So I
I mean,
guess maybe the narrative posits that humanity thought they had wiped out Zero One with the nukes, and then they just left it, and then they rebuilt. Is that what it's implying, or is it? And this is
so
partially why I think it's machine
so that's
propaganda.
actually that's actually a good point. Now, I know that you read a lot of fanfic just like me, right?
Hmm.
So there was this really, really, really fantastic um, fanfic written by this guy called the Grandiloquent Demagogue, and the title is Animatrix Channel Surfing, and it like it shows someone well, surfing channels, and it's like news broadcasts and such, um talking about uh it's like news broadcast adverts and so on,
Hmm.
describing the progress of the war. It's very interesting, and one of its core assumptions is that after the atomic bombardment of Zero One, the humans had just dug a lot of trenches and so on, and had basically come to this uneasy truce with Zero One, right?
Hmm.
It's quite interesting because it does make a little sense, but yeah. Um. So. Uh. Please no. Uh, Go on. I think I'm all talked out for the moment. So
Yeah.
please do.
So my attempt to like logically establish this is humanity thought that they exterminated the machines, and then they just left them alone and went about their business, and the machines rebuilt underground, like a basically in Total War terms, like a doom stack, and then they just exploded
Uh-huh.
outward
Uh-huh.
and caught humanity by surprise. That's the only like kind of
And they
logical
could
way
not,
I can think of it.
and that doesn't even make sense because they could not be nuked a second time. Because how long does it take to rebuild new nukes? And we we see when they show Operation Dark Storm, and that presumably um is when humanity is is on the back foot, right? We can see that you have these high altitude bombers who experience no resistance whatsoever, no anti-aircraft defenses, and they just launch those canisters that contain um, uh, the nanite swarms that form the clouds, right? It's
Okay,
like,
we'll
how
get to
does
that
that
in a
work?
minute.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so none of it makes. I'm sure there's like, and once again, I feel like this also kind of contributes to my feeling that this whole thing is machine propaganda. Like, there's
yeah,
very clearly some large missing points in the narrative, and I feel like
yeah.
some stuff happened there that is inconvenient. for the machine narrative, so
Yeah.
they edited that part out. But yeah, so country after country falls. Let me see here. Is this when Operation Dark Storm happens?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Operation Dark Storm, for those of you who don't know, is one of the core aspects of the Matrix is that the skies have been scorched and there's little to no sunlight that can get through to the planet, which is why Zion is built near the core. Now, the Morpheus claims, and once again, we have is Morpheus's understanding to go on, which is
Before before I before we go any further though, what's interesting is that the name of the file that the second Renaissance is from, like it's called from. It's called it's in the Zion archives, and the name is historical file 121. Right. So um if it's machine propaganda, then it was planted in Zion,
well,
right?
we know that
Which
Zion
is
is a
very
machine
plausible.
creation.
Yeah, yeah. Morpheus, I think, knows as much as he's allowed to know, and so he
No,
says to
I'm not
Neo
saying
in the file.
Orpheus is lying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying he's going off
No, no, no.
of flawed information.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so he claims that it was humanity who scorched the skies because the machines were solar powered, which doesn't really make sense to me. Unless they discovered some like super efficient form of solar energy. But apparently, like, so humanity scorched the skies because they thought it would prevent it would cause the machines to lose, and then they used atomics and like all these massive tanks and stuff, and they were gradually pushing the machines back, but the machines were able to, through transforming their bodies into more insectoid like stuff, uh, able to defeat them. Now, I don't. I've never understood the thought process that humanity scorched the skies. It doesn't make any sense to me. I
It makes zero sense, and I reject it as disgusting machine propaganda.
because okay, so who's more likely to destroy the ecosystem? The people who eat food and are completely dependent upon like the food chain that comes from solar energy, or the people who aren't, um, and can use other are unaffected. Like it doesn't make any sense. The thing it makes perfect sense for the machines to do that, especially if they were losing the war. That's an interesting
Yeah.
question. Maybe the machines were losing the war, um, and that
Yes,
was
yes,
their.
that is, and that would be the normal course of events, even if the machines somehow rebuilt the nuclear leveling of 01. Let's assume that they somehow have built an army capable of invading the neighboring countries. How far would they go, right? I mean, how far would they reach before they would be turned back, right? It's just, it
So,
doesn't make sense.
so maybe what actually happened was after 01 got nuked. That's when the machines developed the nanite swarm, or at some point during the war when they were losing, they developed it, and that was their ultimate weapon because it basically just put humanity on a clock, um, counting down to their destruction. So like that could be it because. But then again, what is the interest of the machines in trying to brainwash Zion into thinking that humanity, like what's their motivation?
Maybe it's to keep them from trying to, trying to ask too many questions, or to try to find ways to actually destroy the machines effectively, because given how none of the so given how none of the machines by the time of the Matrix are immune to EMP, right? And given
Hmm.
how, you know, nuclear airbursts cause EMP, right? It would not take much at all to basically destroy something like something the size of 01, even if it covers the entirety of the Arabian Peninsula.
Well,
If
couldn't
you
so sorry. So
if
do
you
we know
explode
if the farm we see in the Matrix films is 01?
the town, the machine city,
Yeah.
no, it is 01.
Okay. Is there's other
Yeah,
machine cities too, right? Or is that the only one?
presumably, I don't know. So my point is, right, if the machines were well, so the machines now seem completely incapable of um of resisting electromagnetic pulses, right? So if you take a hover ship on a suicide mission up to maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 miles above the surface of the earth,
Hmm.
and detonate something like a 25 megaton bomb, that would generate in an EMP burst large enough to knock out at least 70 or 80% of 01. And I'm saying this just from eyeballing the size of the um city from the movie, the comic books, and the cartoons,
Right.
right? It would need just one bomb to knock them out, because none of the sentinels and none of the machines that we see appear to be immune to electromagnetic pulses. And we know that EMP weapons are they do actually work in in the lore of the movies, right? They do actually work.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I was just I was rewatching the the very graphic details of battle in the second part of the second Renaissance, and what you see is, like, aside from the APUs and like one or two tanks, which finally enough don't move, they just shoot, they just stand in one place and shoot and then get blown up. Like, there's, apart from these two things, right, APUs and tanks that don't move, even though they're in an active war zone, and like, you
Yeah.
have to keep on moving if you don't want to get hit. um what you see are waves of infantry trying to attack machine swarms, which is so asinine that that it reminds me of the tactics of the mobile infantry in Starship Troopers, in the Starship Troopers movie. There's no artillery support, either in the either in the Animatrix, either in the second Renaissance
That could
or in
just be that
Starship
the person
Troopers.
who wrote it didn't understand how war worked. But my sorry, back
Yeah,
to my like the original point. But no, I see.
yeah.
Is there any evidence aside from Morpheus saying that it was that the machines didn't destroy the skies?
No, no, nothing. This is Morpheus says that we were the ones that scorched the sky, um, and in and the narrator says, um, um, uh, the Animatrix narrator says, so the leaders of men conceived of their most desperate strategy yet, a final solution, the destruction of the sky. Thus would man try to cut the machines off from the sun, their main energy source. And interestingly enough, the next line is, May there be mercy on man and machine for their sins. It's very interesting. No,
So
please go on.
so some people have suggested that the reason that the machines deliberately like could have taken down the nanoswarm. Also, the nanos. It's just I don't know. It raises a lot of questions. Maybe I'm thinking too deeply into the writing, but I don't know. The nanoswarm is weird. The whole thing is weird. I don't know. It's just all the evidence that I can see points to the fact that the machines darkened the skies, um,
Yeah.
and then retroactively blamed humanity for it because they didn't want. But yeah. So, anyways, so Operation Night, Operation
Darkstorm.
yeah, Nightstorm fails, and as a result of that, humanity surrenders to the machines. Um,
No, 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 no. It fails, and there's the rest of the war, which mankind just loses, and then and then the machines use like biological warfare that sends a lot of people to hospitals. Um, and yeah, um, yeah. No, please go on.
Eventually, though, humanity surrenders, and the doesn't the robot they send kill the entire UN
Yes, that's
as
yes.
kind of a payback for the robot ambassadors getting killed earlier on.
Yeah, they use a nuclear weapon to destroy the uh
UN headquarters
yeah,
and kill
yeah,
the last few leaders of humanity. So,
yeah,
so we're left with okay. So I think it said in the summary that during the later stages of the war, the machine started to use humans as a power source. Now this brings us to the single part of the matrix I've never been able to figure out. I don't know if
yeah,
it's just so the idea that humans are used as energy source is complete bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. You can't get
no,
more out of a system than you put in. It just seems like a
yeah,
very inefficient way.
yeah,
They and Morpheus says they have fusion power.
yeah,
So apparently, in the original script, before there was rewrites, humans were used as a form of processing power.
yeah. We so the only canon mention of that, apart from the
Goliath.
interviews, yes, from the yeah, there's a Neil Gaiman comic book, which I think captures the mood of the first movie a lot better than anything else because there's still a lot of unknowns during the time of, well, in the Goliath
Was
than
that the
in
one about
anything
the
else.
aliens?
That's the one of the that's the one about the yeah that's the one about the aliens and this one really large guy who takes a flying saucer and then blows that up.
Yeah. So see, that makes a bit more sense to me, because I guess the idea is human brains are kind of unique. Is there an actual limit to memory? Like the number of things like a human could theoretically learn?
I don't know. I don't think there's an answer to this question. I mean, considering that, well, I mean, for us Catholics, right, and for Thomists, given how the intellect is immaterial, even though it's mediated by the operations of the brain and such, it would it would make sense for there to be no limit on the amount of data, right?
Mhm. Well, there's practical
So
issues of like forgetting things and stuff like that, but I don't think there is a theoretical limit. Also, just humans can think in certain ways that computers can't. So I do get the idea that there would be value, a lot of unique characteristics of humans that machines would need. But going beyond that, so there's some of the other theories I've heard is that because machines were programmed with the three laws of robotics, they were incapable of exterminating humanity. You've heard that one, right?
yes, that the machines are following the zeroth law, or a twisted version of it, at any rate, which compels them to protect mankind, and that's why they
Yeah.
are, yeah.
So, what do you think of that theory?
I think that is the one of all the theories that makes the most sense, because because I mean, it would be beautiful as well as, terrifying if that were actually the case, but it also makes the most artistic sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of thing that it's the kind of weird and alien robotic decision that you would expect a machine to take, right? Because they're what they're trying to do is make they take away the ability of us to exercise our wills, our choices, and so on, but they protect and continue our lives, even allow us a measure of peace and freedom, right? Even though it's
Well,
digitally
compared to what the
simulated.
real world is like at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah. Um, so so
So, kind of an
um,
extended version of that is that machines are incapable of generating meaning. So, either they have to struggle against humanity or they need some form of human interaction in order for them to have meaning in their lives.
yeah,
Um, and left
which
to
makes
their
perfect sense. I mean,
and left to their own devices,
which
they
makes
wouldn't be
perfect
able to.
sense. Yeah, it actually makes perfect sense. I mean, it is very possible. Uh, that's what I was thinking, because sentience is such a in sentience in the way that we experience is in the way that we understand it. Um, considering how um, considering how distinct it is from anything else,
Hmm.
and considering that that only humans have had any experience, realistically speaking, of how to live with sentience, then, as you say, that is one way in which that the machines could generate meaning, because again, it doesn't exactly fit in with what we know of theology, but the machines, properly speaking, even if they have some form of,
Rational soul.
yeah, even if they have some form of rational soul, or even if God individually grants every sentient machine a soul the moment it's powered on,
Has that
right?
ever been addressed? Like, is that possible?
What is interesting is that I is that there's this new science fiction writer. new because, well, he must be, well, he's not exactly um in his 20s or 30s, but new in the sense that he's only just started to publish. His name is Andrew Gilsmith, and the name of his book that I loved and that I have already um, planning to reread is um, it's called Our Lady of the Artilects. This Our Lady of the Artilects is Artilects, and it does deal with the idea of God granting machines souls individually, and what results from that. Can
Has
machines
the church
sin? And
addressed the issue, or is it just like so
oh
far up?
yes, no, the church addresses the issue because the writer is a very devout Catholic, right,
No,
and
no,
is a
no. I
fan
mean,
of
what
Malachi
was
Martin.
the church's like official statement on it?
Uh, i- is that this is a new miracle and that they should be treated as such, and that they
No, no. I
should
mean,
be.
in real life, that is. Does the church think it's
I
possible?
I don't know because, see, the thing is, right, I mean, if God does somehow let us know that he has created a rational soul for a Terminator, let's say,
Uh-huh.
um, then he would also have granted a Terminator a telos, right? A
Uh-huh.
purpose, a supernatural purpose. How God would how God would communicate that to us and what that purpose would be, we can only speculate. And I don't know what to
Because my understanding
imagine
is the
it
church
as.
has said that like the idea of other beings with rational souls isn't like inconsistent. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's
I
not
mean if
inconsistent, but the no, but the thing about machines, right? I mean, how would they even be considered living,
no,
right?
no, I'm just
Because
saying
they're.
it's because I think the church has
Yeah.
addressed the question of if we came across other sentient organic beings, yes, it's possible they could have uh, rational souls, and I think they theoretically could be baptized. But
Uh-huh.
machines are just a completely different issue, and I don't even really know where
Yeah.
to go with that.
Yeah. That's why I recommended this book. It's incredible, and I think we need to yeah, I
I mean,
think we
it's
need to
gonna like
I think you need to read it, and yes, you need to read it, and we need to discuss it because
okay.
it's
Could you
awesome.
post
It's
it in
really
the
incredible.
chat? What it's
Yeah,
called?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll send the Amazon link.
Okay, so I think that there's no going back to the Matrix. There's no chance that it's power. So I think it's either the machines just can't kill humans because it's against their programming. There's something about humans that allows, or another example somebody thought is it allows the machines to feel like emotions. Being able to draw on that from humans, if that makes sense. Um,
That could very well be. See, one of the things that I found really intriguing was that um, the the narrator says that the first machines founded Zero One so that they could have a place to live in peace and raise their descendants. That's exactly the language they used. Now, when a machine has descendants, and presumably they're speaking, well, uh, they're talking of a process similar to how Windows 10 was the descendant of Windows 8.1, right? Um,
uh-huh.
And yeah, so that then what that points towards was what that implies is a mass of artificial intelligences, each instantiated in the body of a different machine, right? By the time of the Matrix revolutions, however, all we have is like one Deus ex machina, one literal machine hive mind,
But do we
and
know
none
that?
of
Because
the
the programs don't have a hive mind.
no, the programs don't. However, only the exile programs show any I mean free will in the sense of of purpose, right? It's only the exile programs that show any individuality. I mean, would you say that the agents show any purpose? I
No,
mean,
but I mean, you have the. There's some other programs. Obviously, there's the Oracle. There's the Architect.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But
there's.
do they? But do they live in the machine city?
I think they live in the Matrix. Or we don't. Well,
Yeah.
that's part of the
So
problem is we don't know if all machines have like because one of the interesting things I found is like how Smith wants to get out of the Matrix. Um, and I guess does that mean he wants a sentinel body or like a body in the real world, so he doesn't have to deal
yeah,
with humans anymore? Because they've
yeah.
referenced that a couple times. Like they say the Merovingian ferries people between our world and your world. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure what that would mean for a machine if that is them transferring their
Um,
consciousness to a body.
or so what's interesting is that I think it's in Matrix Reloaded, right? What we see is one of the people in Zion hands Neo a disk drive and says that there is a message from the Oracle. So maybe they transfer things that way, like they load a program onto a disk drive of some sort, and they then smuggle them out um to like a remote broadcast center that can then beam them up to the Matrix.
Yeah.
We don't know. It's interesting though. Yeah.
So what do you think? Because there's things that pause. There's posit different pause. Yeah, positions as to what happened after revolutions. So what do you think happened?
I think that look, if there's anything, if I were in any position of leadership, the very first thing that I would do would be to try to if not find a way to disable the nanite cloud in the sky, if not that, then well, make something like a really high tower of non-conductive material that would punch through the nanite
Well, I mean, you could
cloud
build it in
layer.
01 and it could be something like a Tower of Babel.
Yeah, and it would reach the heavens, and that would allow them to, I don't know, build like very high solar platforms, and they could then use wires and such to send the powers
So,
down. I mean,
like, so you're thinking maybe humans and machines like work together to bring down the.
yes, and if that turns out to not be possible, then maybe I don't know, find a way to leave the planet. I mean, if they have already figured out cold fusion, then energy isn't a problem.
Okay,
And
someone had
it is.
a really interesting idea. Maybe there were colonies and the thing was implanted to prevent the machines from getting off Earth.
I read a fan fiction to that effect.
I don't
Yes.
think it's true, but it's an interesting theory.
Yes, I have read a fan fiction to that effect. So it does it does make sense. It does make sense.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
So,
Uh,
so your overall thinking is that it is machine propaganda, and it didn't
it
happen.
is, if not a complete fabrication, then at the very least, at the very least, it shows a very, it's a,
Well, it shows the machines as
it,
good boys who didn't do nothing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's a very selective um history.
and
Yeah,
none of our questions were answered in Resurrections.
yeah. Which is just fucking disappointment, right? Ugh,
Like, was there a
God.
single good thing you can say about Resurrections?
No.
I cannot think of a single good thing.
Except for the fact that Keanu Reeves looks quite good for his age, and that's it.
Well, Keanu Reeves is just kind of a king in general.
Yeah.
Um, but like people shit on Revolutions. Like there was a lot of shit in Revolutions, but there was a lot of like there was some good action scenes. There was some.
Okay, so what's your least favorite part of a Revolutions?
Uh, I'm not sure exactly.
Okay. Mine is how the fucking APUs have no cockpit armor. Like not even a simple wire
Why is
not even
there
a
no
simple
why is there
wire
no
mesh.
EPMs, EMPs in Zion?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Apparently the EMPs can only be mounted on the ships. And yeah, it's just so fucking the entire thing is so
Although
fucking
that was a
stupid.
cool scene. Like I'll give it that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. A lot of these are really
At
cool
least with
scenes, but
Revolutions, like there's dumb stuff, but there's a lot of parts that are like cool. With
yeah,
Resurrections, it's just all shit.
yeah.
Remember at the beginning where they try
Especially,
to recreate the first scene of the Matrix One with that girl pretending to be Trinity?
yeah.
And they just had to shit on everything. Like Resurrections,
Like,
especially when you get
it
into
felt
like
like a deliberate insult to us,
yeah.
like 20-year-old fans of it, and that was the thing that I despised the most.
No, I
That
mean
was
it
the
was
thing that I despised
deliberately
the most
like it's
about it.
like this
Yeah,
video game, and like they have the scene where they're like it's a metaphor for fascism or whatever. And it's like making fun of people who
and you know what? Like, really, really, really pissed me off.
but
It, it's when they it's when they name the medis. Yeah, it's when they name Neo's the pills that Neo had to take, like something disgusting. Like okay, let me actually look that up. Um, yes, ontolofloxacin. Ontolofloxacin. Would you believe it? Like, so if you go by sound, so if it's like if it's if you were to spell it as ontolofluxin, Fluxin, as opposed to Floxin, it it translates to something like reality flux or something. Uh, I mean, we know that the Wachowskis have always been disgusting hacks. So,
well like this
um,
yeah, but like the Matrix Resurrections feels like it was solely made to just troll the fans.
Yeah.
Like I
Yes.
feel like there was no creative spark. There was no like desire to tell a
No, yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah. It's just pisses me off. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. It's just disappointing, dude.
Um, I was hoping it would be like interesting bad, but it wasn't even interesting bad.
Yeah,
It was
it
pretty
wasn't
boring.
even Roadhouse levels of bad. It was
Yeah,
just
because
boring.
like it could be like a complete and total disaster. Like, but part of it was just it was aware that it was bad. It's kind of like trying to deliberately make the room. Like,
Yeah. So what I think ended up happening was that people like us, long-term fans, just hate watched it so much that it turned a profit,
I don't think
and
it
that's
did
one of
turn
the
a
reasons.
profit, did it?
Oh, did it not?
No, it lost
Do you
money.
look it up? Oh, okay. Well, that's good then. That's good.
It was probably going to be shitty pause, but I would kind of like to see an Animatrix too. Um, oh no,
Yeah.
maybe it did. Oh no, that's Matrix Revolutions. No, let me see, Matrix Resurrections.
So what's interesting is that I remarked this to I made this remark to Tyrion this morning, or was it someone else? I don't quite remember. Is that the Animatrix, the second Renaissance, is a Japanese product, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
Japanese once again don't quite understand how war logistics work.
Uh huh.
It happened in the
That's true. I hadn't
yeah,
even really thought about that, but you are right.
yeah.
Um, I think the other explanation I heard from the Matrix is it was partially made as a reward for the loyalist humans who decided to side with the machines, um, so
I
that they could
mean,
live the rest of their lives happy
yeah,
in
yeah.
the destroyed. Because I mean, reality is shit in the world. It's really like
It is.
not good.
It is.
Anyways,
Uh
I think was there anything else you wanted to say?
no, I just wanted to get my frustration out about about how none of the about how there's nothing between infantry charges and throwing nukes willy nilly. Um, there's no tactical ladder of escalation to speak of. Like tanks that don't work, no
We need
artillery, no
like a
air support.
Sabaton song about the machine human war.
Yes, I have a couple of German friends who know Sabaton in person.
Uh huh. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
You know what? I'm going to ask one of them to send Sabaton an email or something, or just a call so that he writes a song
About
about
the
it.
human machine war.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is this called like 01 or something?
yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on, man. I'll talk to you later.
Sure, buddy. Yeah, yeah. It's pretty late, so I need to go back to sleep.
Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. God bless everybody. Have a good evening. Lots more exciting content to come real soon.